Hello, folks. Welcome to live cardboard number 15 after the flood. Thanks to everyone for coming out this Thursday night. And thanks especially to everyone who came out last time for the the not actually live event. While I was away, and I posted that interview with Jim Wazarski. There was as many people watching that as come out for the actual live streams. I guess I shouldn't be surprised. Jim Wazarski is terrific. So anyway, thanks to all of you who came out and saw the show when I wasn't actually here. That was very nice of you. I want to say thanks as well to all the supporters on Ko-Fi. There's information in the video description if that interests you, as well as my affiliate links for Cube for Me and Noble Knight Games. And hey, subscribing and liking the video is also a great way to support the channel, spread the word, get more people to see what's going on here. I'll get to the hobby news in a bit, but the big news here, as many of you may know already, is we had a pipe burst during some home renovations. No one was in the house at the moment that it burst, so a fair bit of water was unleashed. Much of which made it into the basement and my game collection room. So anyway, I cut my vacation short, flew home, assessed the damage, tried to take care of the games. Happily, my daughter is still living in the house in the basement when the flood hit. So she came home from work, saw the water pouring down, the deluge as it was happening. She called me. I told her where the how to turn off the master water valve. So she got that turned off. I got a hold of the contractor. They got over here and started doing the emergency remediation right away. But the other thing I was grateful for with my daughter being around was she could see that the games were right in the one place where the water was just pouring in. So she and her friend started pulling my games off the shelves, wiping them down, and moving them to a safe, dry space. I have this isn't very long. I'll show you a few images of what things look like after she got the water shut off. I should, in the meantime, though, I should say hello to the folks who stopped by so far. Mike H, Wolf Dog, Dave Poirier, EL. A special hello to Mark Herman. And Mark, thanks for your offer of replacing any of your games if any of my copies of your games had been waterlogged. I'm happy to say they weren't. And hello to Michael Sunborg, Texagander 5. Hello to all of you. It's good to see a nice start for tonight's show. Anyway, here we go. Here's a few things of what it looked like. This first slide is that's my daughter's friend starting the task of pulling the games off the shelves. You can see a few empty shelves there. The water had stopped at this point, but it had been pouring down right in front of the games and also pouring down the back of that wall. So any of the games, most of the games happily weren't pushed all the way to the wall. They were just sitting on the shelves, which is great. But the ones, some of the ones that were pushed right to the back of the wall, obviously got hosed down, and some didn't make it through as happily as you'd like. But lots of them, the water damage just kind of, got a tiny bit of wrinkling on some of the boxes, but the way they make boxes now, those new GMT boxes, they're thick and sturdy. It's great. Here you see after they got all the games off the shelves. But if you look at that table, you can see it's just covered in water. I had just shot before I went on vacation. I had just shot an unboxing video of. I just received Rock of Chickamauga from Flying Pig, the latest Black Swan game, and it was just full. The rule book was like oatmeal by the time I got home. So yeah, it looked pretty bad. This is my daughter's half of the basement. You can see she'd moved like about a third of the games after they were wiped down, got them into her space, put them into my office. There's just like games and books everywhere. Just you actually you see behind me. There's just stuff stacked up everywhere still. Anyway, eventually I went through them all one by one, wiped them off. Uh, yeah, Mark, I'm so happy to say that I had bottom shelves all along. I know it's tempting to be a cheapskate and don't put a bottom shelf on and just start your shelves with the next shelf and stack a bunch of things right on the floor. But I didn't. I had shelving all across the bottom, so everything was at least an inch off the floor. The only box I had on the floor was I'd bought a box of old S&Ts, unpunched S&Ts, and they're stacked upright. And well, actually, here, I think I have one here. If you look, the bottoms of all of these got damaged. So that's the top, looks perfectly great, but you can see it's all wrinkly across the bottom. So I've had them in here drying out for a few days. They're going to be still playable, just not sellable. Anyway, got them all checked, pulled out the ones that were damaged. Got all the information ready for insurance. Which, I got to tell you, that is a pain in the ass. So insurance, I have to put in a claim on my insurance, which I don't expect my insurance to pay for anything. This was the plumber's problem. It's his piece of equipment that burst. But anyway, so then there's also my contractor who's in charge of the overall operation, his insurance, and then the plumber's insurance. So I'm going to end up putting in a claim. My insurance will probably pay it out to me, and then those three insurance companies will fight over who owes what. It's just a mess. I didn't expect to have to involve my insurance at all because I had nothing to do with it. But that's the way it goes. Yeah. Hey, Joe. Good to see you. Always glad to see you stopping by. Anyway, yeah. Well, yeah. There you can see my copy of Rock Chickamauga. If it was zoomed out a little bit, you'd see the box is like blowing out, like it broke the corners of the box, and it was terrible. And then the other thing that really did it was a couple of HASL products from a company out of France called the Franc Tireur. Unless you're like a real diehard ASL fanatic, you might not know these guys, but they put out fantastic products, make great magazines, and they do these historical modules as well. And two of them that you can see just completely bought it. One of them I can order a replacement easy enough from them, but the other one's totally out of print and fairly difficult to find. So that's a bit of a shame. I'll have to try and salvage that one, see if I can make it still work. Anyway, that's my quick and dirty slideshow on what was happening in my in my personal life right now. So as Mark says, great daughter. Yeah, she really. I mean, she had a bad day at work, and she was pretty upset when she came in and had to deal with all that. She's a great daughter. She's also a strong daughter. She was so angry she put her fist right through some drywall, which the contractor is repairing gratis. Anyway, so that was well, I should say the other thing that I didn't show you there. I recently got a copy of Flat Top, and it took a bit of a beating. It's drying. It should be playable. The boards are a bit curvy now. I'm hoping that if I put some big heavy books on them, I can get them to lay flat. And I had a brand new, the latest issue of the Invictus magazine. completely toast. It was on the table along with along with that Rock of Chickamauga. Anyway, when you think of it, though, overall, it's really not as bad as it could have been. It's thank God the box of strategy and tactics was the only box that was actually sitting on the floor. Everything else was up at least an inch because the carpet was completely soaked. So it was just the stuff on the table, and then some of the stuff that was like got hit by the water coming down the wall behind the shelves. It could have been really really tragic. I'm not a huge collector, but I've got about 650 games on those shelves, so it's not a small collection. And to think that it was only maybe a dozen magazines and a dozen games that got hurt, that's not such a bad percentage, really. Anyway, it got me thinking to tonight's topic, which we'll get to after the news and whatnot. But yeah, let's just zip through a bit of news here before we go much further. Okay, I had been a little distracted with the flood and whatnot, so I don't have a ton of news. I haven't been totally focused on things, but there was a GMT newsletter, and there's a few new games coming out that I'll mention as well. The top news from GMT, especially for me, was that the P500 system for international customers is now working. So this is a system they set up to avoid the U.S. tariffs for their international customers. It used to be that games were shipped from China to the U.S. and then to Canada, Europe, Australia, wherever. Now, the only games that are going to be shipped to the U.S. are the ones to U.S. customers. If you're somewhere else, if you're in Australia or Canada, whatever, they're getting shipped directly to your country, so you won't get hit with that pass-through tariff going through the U.S. Anyway, the news was that that system is now up and running, and the first batch of games that had shipped to U.S. customers a couple of weeks ago, Barbarossa Army Group North, that was the big one that a lot of people were waiting for. A bunch of Space Empire stuff, and the latest printing of Talon, I think, were there. They'd all gone out to the U.S. customers, and now they've all gone out to the to international customers as well. They announced that a digital version of Space Corp is now launched. I downloaded it. It's on sale. Maybe today might be the last day of the sale. Maybe tomorrow, something like that. Anyway, it's not expensive. I mean, I think I got it for like $12 Canadian or something, and that was at 25% off. So even at full price, it's not going to be a ton. And then there was the news of they've got another batch of games shipping in early September. So these will come out to the it is a great price. Absolutely, Mike. There's another batch of games coming out early September. So these will come to the US and international probably around the same time. The first one that caught my eye was Brian Train's latest entry into the Coin series. This is China's War. This is China versus Japan, 1937 to 41. It says that it's got rules for solo, for two-player, and for multiplayer. I remember, I think it was Brian the first person to do like two-player coin game. I think it might have been. Anyway, it's so like him to have a variety of ways to play it. There's a bunch of Combat Commander stuff. I'm not going to go through all of it, but basically, because they're coming up with this new, they're putting Combat Commander Europe and Combat Commander Mediterranean in a single box with a whole bunch of other battle packs. It's coming a big 20th anniversary edition. That's on the list as well. But there's also for people who don't want to buy the new big one and just want to complete their collection, it's the final chance for people to get their copy of Europe or Mediterranean or some of the battle packs. So check their site. All things Combat Commander are coming at you right now. Cross Bronx Expressway I can say Bronx. I can't seem to say Express. Anyway, this is not a war game, of course, but um, kind of a social commentary. I understand it. I think it's a game about gentrification of New York boroughs in the 70s. Money coming in and people with limited means moving out because the prices go up. I think that's kind of what the game's about. Anyway, should be interesting. And then finally, the other one that caught my eye was Hubris, an Ancients game by Morgane Goyon-Roté, designer of Pendragon. This is one of those rare things, a three-player game. We don't see a lot of those, and they're always helpful at the old game club when you end up with an odd number. It's got a variety of scenarios, supposed to be fairly quick playing, like 60 to 90 minutes or something like that. And the sides are the Ptolemies, the Seleucids, and Macedon. So there you go. And then finally, there was announcements of a few new things on P500. And of course, the big one, Pacific Chase. I think a lot of us have been waiting for that. Yeah, that's right. Algeria coin game, Colonial Twilight was the two-player one. Absolutely. Yeah, I knew it was Brian Train. I just couldn't remember which game it was. And good for you, John. Combat Commander, you won't regret it. Anyway, back to Pacific Chase. Atlantic Chase was like a completely innovative game. The way Jerry White changed the focus from the hide and seek and hidden movement and maybe screen. Like there's all the different ways that you could set up hidden information in games. But this ingenious thing he did with the trajectories that were stretched long across the board, and then as your opponent was searching you, the trajectory got shorter and shorter and shorter. So the range of different of spaces where you might be gets reduced until you're actually found. It works great. Works fantastic for the Atlantic, but people were going, well, it's great for hunting convoys, but what about carrier battles? Well, Jerry demoed it to me a couple of years ago at GMT West, and he did the scenario was the Pearl Harbor, and it was great. Yeah, well, there you go. Yeah, Mark played Midway against him a year ago. Yeah, that was exactly it. It was like I wasn't sure how it was going to work, and then you play it and you go, yeah, it totally works. Because in carrier battles, a big part of if we're going to game or model carrier battles, a big part of the game still is that hunting, right? It's we're still it's still that thing of whoever finds the other person first is going to have the advantage. And so Jerry's system it works perfectly for Pacific Chase. I will say this is going to be a giant box. The War in the Pacific, much bigger than the War in the Atlantic. There's like 3 or 4 or 5 like rule books and tutorial books and scenario books, and there's the little wood sticks that you use for your connections. There's even more this time than last time. There's going to be a big heavy box, so when you do order it, it's going to be one of the pricier ones in terms of shipping, because so much of the GMT stuff is the weight determines your shipping cost. Anyway, totally psyched to see that. Can't wait. Fighting Formations has this is another just a scenario pack, just like they had the Tarkov one a couple of years ago. So this is just going to be a scenario pack with some new maps and a few new counters. So I imagine that means there might be maybe a few new unit types thrown in to keep people interested. Yeah. Mark, you can reply to this. There you go. Yeah, I felt the same way. Also up on P500, another scenario pack, this one for Next War. It's called Flashpoints, and as I understand it, the deal with this scenario pack is it's smaller scenarios. So if you want to play like with all the rules, the big meaty next war rules, if that's your thing, but you don't want to play a 10-hour full game or one of your games. These scenarios they're like just 3 or 4 turns or something, and so much shorter scenarios. That's what I'm trying to say. Shorter scenarios, so you can get to your next war fix on without playing the full thing. And then finally, there's an update kit for Ardens 44. In terms of new, here we're skipping ahead. New things coming on. There was a Kickstarter announced for. Oh, there you go. We better mention that. I didn't see that on the list, but Mark's book is back on the P500 for second printing. Fantastic book. I read it when I got my hands on the first copy, first printing. It's exactly what you think. It's Mark talking about how he designs war games, and that's exactly what it is. He really lets you know that this is the way he does it. You can do it. You can do it your way, but this is one man's idea. Great book. Totally approachable book. Brief Border Wars 2. This is talking about Brian Train again. This is his follow-up to his earlier Brief Border Wars. This is it's like they're kind of like the old SPI quads, 4 smaller games in one box with a main set of series rules and just a few exclusive rules for each of the 4 situations. They play quick. It's not I wouldn't say it's a card-driven game, but the cards are key to the way the engine works in this game. I enjoyed the first box. I look forward to getting this as well. And then the other thing that I saw was this is from VUCA, Against the Iron Ring. This is a Stalingrad game, but we always talk about this with Stalingrad games, right? It's half the games that are Stalingrad games aren't really about the city fight, and this is no different. This is about the Stalingrad. It's I think 5.5 kilometers of hex. So Stalingrad itself is just a collection of hexes near one side of the map. So we're talking about the bigger battle around Stalingrad, and there'll be the encircled units within Stalingrad. But it's VUCA, so it's going to have terrific quality components. This is a big one. I think it may not have it's rare for VUCA, but I think this might be a paper map rather than their normal mounted map. But it's going to be a big box anyway. It's a big map, and I think it's going to have a lot of counters. And I think it's going to still have VUCA. VUCA always does those pre-cut, pre-rounded counters, so it takes a lot more. You don't get as many counters on one sheet. It takes more sheets of counters to get the same amount of counters. New games for me. Well, I thought it was a short list. I thought there was just 3. I got my copy of Gettysburg First Day, which is fantastic. After I checked all the boxes for water damage, pulled out the ones that were damaged, and tried to salvage them, I boxed up all of the rest of them, and all those boxes of games went into storage, where the rest of our furniture as well. We're having the upstairs renovated. But I kept this one out. I was so eager to play Steve Carey's latest game that I didn't box it up. I kept it out. Of course, another new one for me was Rocket Chickamauga, which is a total bummer because the tricky thing when you're in Canada, Flying Pig, is when they do a Kickstarter, they ship anywhere in the world. Because it's handled through whoever their Kickstarter distributor is, right? But if you want to order games just from the Flying Pig website, they don't ship to Canada. So if I'm going to get another copy of this, I'm going to have to get it sent to a friend, and then have the friend send it to me. It's a bit of a pain in the ass, but that's the way it's going to be if I'm going to get another one. And then this is the other one. I don't usually play solo games, but after it, like 3 days of cleaning games, sorting games, boxing games, doing all that stuff, when it was finally done and the movers came and took all that away, I was so just like wiped. Uh, I stopped by my friendly local game store, the Century Box, and picked up this because I'm a big David Thompson fan, and played the first mission. It was fantastic. In some ways, it reminded me of the old game Ambush. If you remember that, Victor Games, Mark Herman will remember it, of course. It was John Butterfield and maybe Eric Jason. They worked together. I know it was John Butterfield. Anyway, the thing about that game was it was sort of like a choose your own adventure. There was like these paragraphs, and depending at the end of the paragraph, you had to choose what you were going to do. And what you chose to do would lead you to another paragraph. You choose something there, it leads you to another paragraph. And then if there was if there ended up being some kind of an engagement, there was a hex encounter map board, and you play out the engagement. Now, War Story Occupied France isn't as old school as Hex Encounter, but when you have an encounter, there's a few pieces, there's some maps put out, and there's cards and a few cubes and whatnot, and you do the same thing. It has that same choose your own adventure as Ambush. There we go. So it was John and Eric, and proofreaders. My God, what a job that must have been! Because the thing about Ambush, and I think the thing that must have, I think I've talked to Butterfield about this. That the thing that kept him from doing it more and more and more was the amount of text you have to generate to do a adventure type solo game is just staggering. So Mark was one of. Not only did John and Eric have to generate it, Mark and whoever else had to proofread it and do all that. I know John's been working on a new solo game that uses a kind of the same style. I think it's a space game, but this time it's all computer, and they've got a database. So all that cross-referencing that they had to keep track of just on paper back when they did Ambush. Now it's being done on Access or some other database software, which is fantastic. Anyway, that was the only 3 games I thought I bought, but then I got a shipment from I'd ordered. I don't have a slide for this, but Weba 1811, I think, from White Dog Games. It's my first game from White Dog Games. I got it. It came while I was in the midst of doing all that stuff. I intend to do a unboxing video of it, so I can have a look at it. But my whole studio is upside down right now, so I've got to try and make a temporary studio so I can do some of that stuff. And then the other thing, Noble Knight was having their free international shipping promotion, and I had some credit with them thanks to people using my affiliate link and whatnot. And so that's this box right here. Well, this is actually pretty funny because Mark's here. I'll show you. I'll just show you what I got, just because I'll just whip through these skirmisher magazine because I'm trying to learn some GCACW. I've always wanted this game. It's known to have one of the most hideous maps to a lot of people's eyes. I don't mind. There's a bit of a map. I don't mind colorful maps. Hey, good to see you, Brent. It's watching the sports. Some from ATO. I think this is a John Prados game. That's why I got that. A couple of older GCACW games, so that because that's kind of been my focus this year, to try and tackle GCACW. But also, just happened to also get a victory game. This is you can't see the title there, but it's Tokyo Express. I think Tokyo Express is actually a fairly complicated game, but everything I've heard about Tokyo Express is that the juice is squeeze on that one. But, yes, yeah, it's maybe a long go learning the ropes, but it's totally worth it. Okay, well, so after the flood, so I went through all this, and yeah, I don't know if I have. I don't know if I have another John Southard game or not. Like that's a name that zipped by me when I was younger for some reason. But I've read about the game. People whose opinions I respect says it is a genius. I look forward to seeing it. Anyway, tonight's talk, I, I was looking at what was damaged, and I was working on how I was going to replace them. This is going to be a whole deal this this business of replacing everything, or I don't know. Maybe I'll just take the cash and buy something else. I don't know. But it got me thinking. I started thinking about what games I would be devastated to lose. It's funny. I found a couple of the tools that give you kind of approximate resell values for your games if you have them cataloged on BGG. It takes a look at what they've been selling for recently on BGG. I think. Anyway, I pointed it at my collection, and I was sort of surprised that my most valuable games, at least monetarily, were maybe not my favorites. Uh, it shouldn't be. It'll be no surprise if you think about it. A ton of them are from MMP, a Multiman, and that's just a function of the fact that they're so terrible about keeping things in print. You pay $80 for a game, and in a year it's out of print and it's worth twice that, and in 4 years it's still out of print and it's worth 4 times that. And also you pay $80 for a game, often you're paying $120 for a game. Their initial prices at Multiman are fairly hefty as well. Before all this whole tariff thing hit, Multiman was they were busy trying to ship their production to China as well because they were trying to bring their prices down. Anyway, I'll give it a look at sort of like the top 15 of these games. I'm not going to dwell on these, but just you'll see how top heavy it is with MMP. Well, there's 2 on this first slide that aren't MMP, but there's the Greatest Day, the Rose to Gettysburg, and Devil's Cauldron. Those are all pretty pricey games. It's I guess I was a bit surprised that Greatest Day Utah was in the top spot, as it's the newest of those. I thought maybe one of the ones that had been out of print longer was going to be pricier. Well, I was thinking about that. Like, a viable strategy to build yourself some wealth is every time MMP releases a new ASL product or a new OCS product or a new GCACW product, just about anything, buy 5, play 1, and hold the other ones for 5 years, and you'll be flirting through silk, as my grandfather used to say. Axis Empires, no surprise to see it here. I mean, 251. That's probably what the list price was. That was one of the first games that came to my mind when I got the call to say that everything was covered in water. Just because between the list price on that game, it's so heavy, so the shipping was huge. By the time I got it to Canada, it was like close to $500 Canadian. I mean, it was just like, I don't know. I don't know what I was thinking. The good thing is I've been playing it with a new friend online, and we're having a fantastic game. We're learning it together, totally loving it. So at least I have that. Well, there you go. Thank you, Michael. That totally makes sense. It makes sense that now that I finally got my hands on a copy of Tokyo Express, there's going to be a new version of it. But that's all right. I'm happy to plug the holes in my Victory collection. Anyway, I'm having shelf full of Avalon Hill and Victory games. Avalon Hill is my main company back in the day, and of course I got a fair number of SPI games as well. Anyway, that was the top three. The next three, we see a whole bunch of well, all but one there are multi-man. The second one is San Nazaire Operation Chariot. That's the company I mentioned earlier. That's La Frontière out of France, and that's the one that's out of print. So it originally sold for about $100, and now it's $194, I guess. That's the one I'm going to have trouble replacing. But all this ASL stuff, it's crazy that I mean, they know how to run their business, but the fact that the ASL rule book and module number 1, Beyond Valor, go out of print regularly, and it can take a year or two before they come back in print. It boggles my mind. And the Yanks, the next module, which is a lot of people's that's their key module after Beyond Valor. I don't know how you're supposed to get new players playing when you don't have the rule book constantly in print. Anyway, crazy stuff. Well, you may like the next screen as well, then, Mark, because I'm just going to show you the top 15 here, because a ton of ASL stuff along with some GCACW. It's like don't get me wrong, I'm a giant ASL fan. It's easily the game I've spent the most time on in my lifetime as a war gamer. I was one of those guys, from like, I don't know, 95, 2001 probably. It had become my lifestyle game, right? It's all I played. So I've put a lot of hours in it. But that said, it's still like it wasn't the first thing that sprung to mind when the water hit. When I found out about the water, if we went back to that first screen that had the fifth game, there was Napoleon's Triumph. That was no surprise to see. That's a Rachel Simmons game, and she's no longer making games. And Napoleon's Triumph, that's hard to track down. It generally sells for a pretty penny if you can manage to find one. Anyway, I won't go through any more of these priced ones. Yeah, I think you are retired. Well, it's retired from everything except making games and writing books, I guess. So I guess you're not retired. Don't retire. That's what I want to say. Anyway, so that was my priciest games. I'll just note that it wasn't until number 20 in my list that there was another non-MMP game. It was Red Strike from Fuka, which was that game was pretty pricey from the get-go, so I don't know that it's appreciated much. Anyway, so I looked at this list. They were my priciest games, but they're not all my favorite games. I love them all, but they're maybe not the exact games I would throw in the boat as I sailed away from a coming tsunami or something. So I tried to make a list. It wasn't it's like I didn't ask myself what's my favorite game, but rather like what game could I not do without, right? I mean, I'm sure both of those lists would change daily. My list of favorite games, my list of I can't live without this game. But anyway, I'm going to go through a list of some of the games and maybe talk about why some of these games are on my list. and I totally invite you in the chat to talk about uh, how you value your games. What is it that makes a game valuable to you? What's the criteria? And, and just for fun, if you could only say three of your games, what would they be and why? Just hit me up in the chat, and we'll talk about different people's lists. Anyway, the first game on my list is anybody who's been listening to my podcast for the last 3 years probably know that. When anybody asks me what my favorite game is, I reflexively say up front. It's partly it's it heads up this list. I'm sure there's a nostalgia factor. There's also you're going to see a few tactical games up here because I cut my teeth on tactical games. But this is I still love this game. Maybe I haven't played it in about a year and a half. But I won't play it for a couple of years. I'll pick it up, I'll just it'll be like I never quit. Right? I can just keep coming back to this game again and again. It's that rare game where I don't often have two copies of the game, but I have a copy of this. Neither of them are the Vault. I'm glad the War Game Vault edition is out there for everybody who can't get a copy. But I've got a couple of actual copies of the real McCoy. And I should also add, along with this base game, I'd want the Bonsai expansion as well, because I love the Japanese and the Brits. That was fantastic. But I will say, though, Joe, the Desert expansion, that's the one that had the French and Italians. And that was a big disappointment. They sort of Combat Commander does this a bit too. They want to make all these differences between the different nationalities, and so they put the French and the Italians at the bottom of the pile, but they put them too low. The French, for example, that was a perfectly great army. They were perfectly great fighting men. They had a really shitty disconnect between their government and the upper echelons of the army that made them very immobile. But if you're talking about one squad against another squad, the French shouldn't be as but they shouldn't be as portrayed as badly as they have here. That's what I'll say. That's absolutely true. I think the Italian squad is 15 men big or something like that. I don't think it's quite the way I would have done it. But the British, terrific. Japanese, terrific. Both great additions to the series. The next game for me was ASL. I put West of Maine here, or the new version, I guess, is called Country. I put that there because that's if I could only take one expansion with me, it'd probably be this one. Although it's a close race between that and Croix de Guerre, the French, because I love the armor in France 40. I love those tin cannons fighting with each other. As I said before, I've spent more time with ASL than anything else, so it immediately comes to mind of something that I feel like I can't do without. Even when I sold all my ASL stuff, I decided I was gonna not be a slave to a lifestyle game, so that I could open myself up to other games. And within, I don't know, 8 years, I bought it all back again. So that was that. I mean, bad on me. It's a way to go, but I'm an ASLer. Now I play everything else again as well, but I'm not ashamed to say that ASL is still my that's well, and I think that's absolutely true, and I'll talk about that a little later. Well, I'll just talk about it now because we're going to see some other tactical World War II And I I do like Tactical World War II, but I'm my first love was Tactical World War II. Then it was Grand Strategic. It took me a long time to get to operational. That was the last one for me to sort of crack as a gamer in my sort of journey. But I think the reason a bunch of these tactical games are on this list that I made, which is about games that are close to me, is because World War II Tactical was my first love. Tobruk was my first ever game, um, and maybe I think my third or fourth game was Panzer Leader. So uh, that stuff's deep in the bones, right? So that's probably why so many of them ended up on this list. I made this list. There's this thing. If anybody's seen it, it's the pub ranking tool. You put in games, or it'll import your games from BGG if you want, and it'll just show you two at a time. You just pick one, and it takes you through the whole thing, and then it spits out this list. So some of the places where the games ended up on this list, because I was ranking them with the idea of what can I, between these two games, which one would I keep over the other one? That was my criteria. Sometimes it surprised me. Anyway, those first two games can be a bit pricey because ASL is still pricey because it's published by MMP, and Upfront is out of price, out of print. So that's tricky. But then once we get past that, the next one is not pricey at all. But this came up number 3 on my list. This is from Columbia, a block game. This is more operational in terms of its scale. I have to say, I'm terrible at Rumble in the Desert, and yet I just continue to play it. I love this game. I came to it late, so this isn't a nostalgia thing. I probably only started playing this game maybe 10 years ago, so I came to it after Hammer the Scots, things like that. But like Hammer the Scots, terrific, fine game, but I much prefer Rumble in the Desert. Absolutely like this game. I think probably obviously of all my block games, this is still my favorite, which is interesting because this is such an old game, and there's certainly been lots of advances made with blocks. But there you go. I think we'll notice that there's a lot of older games on this list because I don't know. There's a nostalgia factor that comes in, and tell me if that's the case for you as well. Would nostalgia play a role in whether you wanted to keep a game or not? This was another one that's high on the list. Surprised me a bit, but it doesn't surprise me because I love the game. This is another game by Rachel Simmons. But this was, I know for a lot of people, there's a lot of people say Napoleon's Triumph is their all-time favorite game. Period. This is my favorite Rachel Simmons game. I love this game. What's really interesting about this as a Gettysburg game is everybody arrives on the day they're supposed to arrive, but the order that they arrive is completely random. I find that fantastic. And to go along with that, depending on how they arrive, the victory locations can move farther back. So I'm glad we're on the same page there. I think this game is fantastic. It's got the same thing as their other games in that it's diceless combat. It's totally deterministic. The key being the variable being it's right in the title. The guns, Gettysburg. You have a variable amount of resources of guns, of artillery tokens, and so does your opponent. And you're never going to know how many they have to spend, or they're not going to know how many you have to spend on a certain battle, and that's often the distance or the difference in the way a battle pans out. Totally love that game. This is uh, I've got quite a few U.S. Civil War grand strategic games, uh, and of all of them, uh, this is the one that I've played the most. Now, uh, I'll say I have Marks for the People. That's the only one that is still in my unplayed pile. So it's uh, I can't rank it versus the U.S. Civil War, but I love this game. I also have Eric Lee Smith's The Civil War 1861 to 65. Perfect game. This is built on the bones of that, on the shoulders of that. I like this one. I like this one better. I'm interested to see what Eric does in his redesign of his game that's going to be published by Revolution. I don't know, hopefully next year. We'll see. But I played this one a bunch when it first came out. I just could not get it off the table. I had 3 or 4 Vassal play-by emails of it going. I had my own physical copy going. This game really pulls me in. There's we'll get to the same thing when we talk about games by Kim Kanger. But Kim Kanger and Mark Simonich, the designer here, they're a couple of those designers that are also graphic artists. So they do their own maps, their own counters, their own rule books. And it's not to say that it can't work the other way, but when one person is doing the whole thing, you're getting their vision is not it's not messed up with by anybody else putting a wrong step forward in terms of graphics or anything like that. I really like Mark Simonich's maps. They're the exact right kind of balance between form and function for me. So there you go. Here we go. More more World War II tactical. I just put this one in just as a stub for the whole series, but I came to Combat Commander late. I didn't start playing Combat Commander until, I don't know, maybe 2015. I didn't buy it way back when it first came out or anything like that. But a fella here in Calgary was he was moving out to BC and selling off like 2/3 of his collection. He had a complete set of Combat Commander, which I bought from him for like $120 or something. It was a hell of a deal to get because he had all the battle packs, all the boxes, including Pacific. So yeah, it was great. I don't know. Like I said, the fact that I started my wargaming with World War II Tactical probably makes sense that 3 would go to my top 6 keepers are World War II Tactical, but there you have it. It's a I know everybody knows about this. It's great, and also it's like if you. The other thing about tactical games, they give you a bunch of scenarios, so you get you're going to surround yourself with a little bit of replay value there as well. All right, here's the first one that's like totally new. Now this is VUCA. This is a totally new sort of game system. There's a bunch of mechanics in this game that are new to me for sure. I think they're new to wargaming. I'm not sure how this ended up so high on the list. I mean, I think it's an excellent game, but I wonder if it ended up so high on the list because I'm just so eager to play it again. I played it last fall, face to face with a friend down in San Diego, and she and we just had a great time with it, and it just made me want to play it again and again. So I don't know. Like I said, there's lots going on in this game that's not going on in other games, or at least not in this combination. So it is a terrific game. It does deserve to be high on the list. But if you haven't seen it, I recommend it. U.S. Civil War Grand Tactical. Here's another one. This might be surprising. Maybe people might have thought that Eric Lee Smith's game or the old U.S. Civil War from SPI, or there's a lot of grand tactical, grand strategic U.S. Civil War games but I love this one. This was completely completely like nothing else. This is a card game, but it's not a. It's not the cards. The cards are the units. The cards are the leaders. The cards are the map. Um, it's if you're looking for like a really strictly on the rails historical game, this isn't it. But it is a great sandbox, and it still totally feels like the U.S. Civil War when you play this. Uh, I think the designer had said that he was going to port the system to other conflicts, but he never did. In fact, he designed this and a couple other things, and hasn't been haven't heard from again, which is too bad. A lovely system. If you ever get a chance to play it or get your hands on it, um, do it for sure. Well, yeah, you could. Roger McGowan's art is always number one in my books. If you watch my video review of his book, you'll see I gush like a school girl at a Beatles concert or something. Yeah, I love Roger's stuff for sure. Um, Here's another new one. So this this is like I said earlier. This Airman. I have a poster by Roger, a copy of actually when I reviewed Roger's book, and they didn't have to do this, but Stephen and he, after I saw the review posted, totally out of the blue, they sent me a tube with a bunch of signed posters and just saying thanks for the exposure for the book. It was really lovely of them to do. And then after the wildfire and then his terrible passing too early, it just made those things more precious to me. And I'm glad to say they're here in my office. They were not hit by the flood. Anyway, this game, this is another game that asked me in a year. I wonder if it would still be on this list. I wonder if it's right now because I'm playing it right now and I'm enjoying it so immensely. This is World War II Grand Tactical. We're just playing the Total Craig half of the game. We're not playing that, which is the war in Europe, side of the war in Europe in the desert. The other half is Dicenso, which is the Pacific. We haven't tackled that yet. I'm going to want to play the Europe side a few times before I move on. So again, it's like, is it just because I'm playing it that it ended on this? I don't know. This game, I'm not playing it right now. I haven't played it in about 2 years, and I was surprised that it ended up as the highest CDG on my list. Not that I love this game. I think game is great. I like it so much that I bought this new Phalanx version, even though I perfectly love my GMT version. And Phalanx is not Phalanx as a company sometimes rubs me the wrong way. So I just love the game so much, so I bought it. But I'd always thought that Amateurs to Arms was my favorite CDG. I know that's not one that a lot of people play, but I fell in love with that game. I remember I fell in love with that game because I was playing Twilight Struggle and I found that people who had like just great deck knowledge in that game had the upper hand, which is great. Two guys that know the deck equally well, they're going to have a terrific game. A game of Twilight Struggle, I need to find somebody who does know the deck. Well, with Amateurs to Arms, it's got the deck is about 120 cards. You're only going to get through 80 or something. So remembering the deck is not going to be a help to anybody. It's not cut up into years or eras or anything like that as well. So anyway, but apparently I love Happy Charles even more. Well, God, that'd be a subjective one, Michael. But man, uh, I could talk about box art all day. Although, it would be bad if I hosted such a thing, because at least half the covers would be Rogers covers. So, there you go. Uh, yeah, I totally remark. And well, and I know Charles Vasey is a friend of yours. Uh, and I find him a delightful guy. Got a great sense of humor. There's wit in his writing. I remember I didn't run into him again until the last decade online. But I remember him, Charles Vasey. This is a total tangent, but if anybody remembers, if you subscribed to the General magazine back in Avalon Hill's heyday, you might remember that it also had for a while a magazine called All Star Replay that was devoted to their sports games. And I was a big sports replay game lover, so I subscribed to that game. There you go. And I remember it's funny that it stuck with me all these years, but Charles had an article in All Star Replay in one of the early issues. For anybody to know, Charles is an Englishman, and it was basically Englishman's perspective on American football, complete with some pictures of him in American football pads and whatnot. It was a funny article. It was great, but I remembered his name all these years. And when I got a chance to play this game, it was like, well, yeah, this guy's as witty as I thought he'd be. Anyway, enough about Charles Vasey. Great guy. This is Kim Kanger, which I talked about earlier. So he's got that great combination of being both a graphic designer and a game designer. And I think this game is this game is Kim Kanger's masterpiece. He's got another game called Nemesis Burma, which I've played more uh, and I've devoted more time to, for sure. But that's because I uh, I need to play this. I need to find somebody who wants to dive into this as far as I do. This this um, this is a game. I mean, he does he does things that other people aren't doing. This is a game where the supply system is exciting. How often can you say that, right? Anyway, no surprise to me that a Kim Kanger game showed up on my list. Uh, I'm a huge Blind Swords fan, as many probably know. And out of all the titles that I've played so far, I've played about maybe 8 or 9 of them so far. This is my favorite. I just love this South Mountain, the Union, trying to crawl the way up up the gap, up into the mountains to take the 2 gaps. A fantastic game. And Steve Carey has become a really great Blind Swords designer. This was his first Blind Swords game, and it's terrific. But he's got 2 more since then. Um, I did. I put this in also like as a series game. I'm not. There's not going to be any more Blind Swords games in this list, I'm sure. Uh, this one is. I came late to the party on this one. I did not get. I did not get a copy of this game until like 2 or 3 years ago. I totally missed it. Back in the day when it came out, I was almost exclusively a World War One and World War Two gamer in the '80s. I dabbled in a bit of ancients here and there and stuff like that, but I I I knew nothing about Frederick the Great, and despite this being a fantastic Roger McGowan cover, um, I totally missed it, and I'm so glad that I finally kept up with it. Yes, this is uh, it's an awesome game. It's a Frank Davis game. Uh, Mark can tell me if I've got this right. But to me, I think this game is kind of revolutionary in that it really put the focus on cutting supply lines, capturing supply depots. It took the focus off of um, conflicts, actually, like conflicts between armies or forces, and it really put the focus on logistics. Uh, I mean, that's the way the game reads to me, and I just got a feeling that must be what. I mean, this is the Avalon Hill version. This originally came out from SPI, but for it to have been one of the games that was uh, worth SPI selling to Avalon Hill, it was obviously a terrific game, and I'd play it tomorrow for sure. I still love this game. And I got to know Frank Davis a little bit this year, which was he's an interesting guy. He's a bit prickly for sure. He was I interviewed him, and he before we did the interview, he let me know. We went back and forth for about a week and a half or 2 weeks. I was going to interview. He wanted to interview. That's the way it was going to be done, or it wasn't going to be done at all. It's like, well, that might have stuck in my craw a little bit when I went, this is Frank Davis. I'm going to let the man speak. I feel the same way. I interviewed Mark. I wanted to hear if I had a chance to talk to Al Nofi, or I'd really like to talk to even Don. But there's a lot of giants that are still walking around that. If they want to tell me how they want to be interviewed, I'll do it. I want to talk to them. Okay. Next up, I already talked about this game, so I won't dwell on it. I loved the big deck. That was the main thing. Some folks love the map here. I don't know. It's a bit, I find that it gets in the way of being able to tell what's happening on the map sometimes. So it's not my favorite map, but it's definitely one of my favorite games. We'll just breeze by it though, since I've already talked about it a bit. I'm a huge Area Impulse fan, and if I had to pick my all-time favorite designer, it might just be Courtney Allen, because he gave us both Upfront and the original Area Impulse game. Swarm over Arnhem. This is the third in this series from Avalon Hill. The first one not to be designed by Courtney Allen. This was designed by Greenwood, I think. But this was the one that introduced the end of the day, the random end of the day mechanism, and that just added a bunch of spice. I've also got Ranella's game that kind of took this and updated it in a way, and I really like that game. It's a real grinder. It's a totally attritional game. Probably a better model of the battle, but something about this one is just so damn fun, right? And I don't think you have to choose between fun and verisimilitude, but if you did, I want games to be games, and I want the games to be fun. If I wanted them to just be history, I might as well read a book. So that's about it. Yeah, in terms of the original Avalon Hill ones, Breakout Normandy is the one that probably still gets played the most at conventions. I think it still gets played at WBC and whatnot. But this one's still my favorite. I still I don't know. I love it. Well, speaking of Freddy the Great, another new game. This is Annabelle Holland's Freddy the Great game, and it's completely different from Frank Davis's game, but supply lines and depots here are the name of the game as well. Like I said, completely different mechanisms. It's another one of these games where perhaps the reason it's on the list is because I played it a fair bit, fell in love with it, and but I feel like I just scratched the surface of the game. I feel like there's just ton more for me to play here. So that's that's why it's on the list. Sort of a new one. This is part of this is from Shakos. This is they've got 3 games: 1806, 1807, 1815. I picked this one. If I had to pick just one, I'd pick this. My Napoleonic history is not strong enough to comment on whether which Napoleon games are better history, which are worse. If you want to know more about that, watch the last live stream where I talked to Jim Ozarski, because he's a great source of information for that. But as a game system, this is fantastic. This has got there's blocks on the game on the board, so you know where the leaders are, but behind screens is the compositions of the forces and the health of those forces. So there's tons of fog of war going on in this game. It's great. No surprise to me that it ended up so high on the list. This is the other. I think I have about 5 Kim Kanger games, but this is the only other one that ended up on the list. This game struck me, and I don't know if this was the first time this was done, but the way Kim Kanger does supply in this game really struck me as making a ton of sense. There's a lot of operational games where you have a unit here and the supply source is over here, and so you count the spaces back to the supply port. And if it's in X amount of spaces or even X amount of movement points, it's in supply. The way Kim did it in this game, it goes the other way. You count movement points from the depot to the unit that needs to be supplied, and that's really key, because if the unit that needs to be supplied is in a really high movement point location, like a mountain, say, it might be the difference between being in supply or not. Shifting the direction you can supply, I don't know. Probably there's been other games that did it, but for me it was a revelation at the time, and made me fall in love with this game. Totally love it. Speaking of games, this is one that I would I'd play anytime, anywhere. Maybe there's a little bit of provincialism going on here, because some of this takes place on soil that would become Canada, but also, more importantly, designed by Marc Rodrigue, a fellow Canadian, albeit across the country. He's out in Quebec. This game, if you haven't played it, it's really interesting in that it uses the shapes of counters to differentiate, make big distinctions. The square counters are your I don't know, brigades, your major units. The triangular counters are your light units, and then the circular counters are things like your artillery or your fortresses and things like that. And it just makes the board's really clear. You look at the board, you can really see what's going on, and it's a gorgeous board. Well, then I should also say yet again, Marc Rodrigue is another one of these guys who is a graphic designer who's also a game designer. So no surprise there. Okay, this next one. This is a weird one. I haven't played this. I have this. I have the Utah one. I've got. I haven't played any of these games. A couple of them I got unpunched, actually still in shrink, for a guy who had, and I got them really cheap. So it's not like I busted the bank to get them. But I have this one on the list because there's the different reasons we would put games on our I got to keep this list, and for me, this one is because I'm just dying to play it. Like I bought this game not because I wanted to hold it and sell it for money down the line. I bought it because I'm really interested to see how this system works, and so I put it on the list because it was like it's like an un, unexplored passion, or I don't know. I think there's only a couple of games like that on this list, but there you go. Uh, Here's another throwback one. And this, I did not get this back in the day. I got this when I bought some S&Ts from a friend. Tried it out, and me and I played it with Mark Johnson. If any of you listen to the podcast War Games to Go, and neither of us had played it before, and we just fell in love with it. It's a fantastic game. This is a Dunnigan game, completely boiled down. This is about as far as you can the game and still have it be a model. I think it's just fantastic. The rules are simple, straightforward, and they work. Yeah, totally recommend it. You can probably find that a used copy of that game, no problem. And I think Decision actually made that game, but I'm happy to have the old S&T one. Hands in the Sea. This I played a ton of when it came out, which is funny because this game kind of what's that? The game that it's gone out of my mind. There's a game I think it's on the French and Indian War that this was built on the bones of that game. It'll come back to me. Somebody's going to mention it in the chat. Anyway, that game I found a bit bewildering. I could never kind of wrap my mind around what I was trying to do with it. A Martin Wallace game. And then I got this, and that's it. Few Acres of Snow. Totally great game, but it just took me forever to kind of figure out where I was going and what I was doing. And then I got Hands in the Sea, and it all clicked. Like there's more going on in Hands in the Sea, but I just love this game. It's I guess this sort of sucks. It's being republished, I think, by Phalanx. Phalanx has this habit of like taking games that I love, making new versions of them, even when I don't feel like they need a new version. But what are you going to do? Yeah, that's true, Christoph. Starkweather, he had been doing the GTS series. He had been doing that at MMP. And I think he had a falling out maybe with the MMP folks or for whatever reason, and he's taken his designs elsewhere. And basically, as I understand it, kind of making games using a very similar system to the GTS system that he'd started at MMP. This is a game. It just came out last year. You may not even heard of it. It was a Kickstarter that failed. These guys didn't manage. It was their first shot at a Kickstarter. They didn't get it as far as they want, so they pulled the Kickstarter, and eventually they published it through Blue Panther. So you can get it as a print and play. But before they did that, they sent me a copy just to say, like, I like your podcast. Would you have a look at this? Tell us what you think. Well, I just fell in love with this game. This is a 3-player game. It starts 1880s, 1890s, goes to about 1930. So World War One, it's kind of happens in the middle of it. But it's the struggle for the Arabian Peninsula. So you've got the Saudis, you've got the Hashemites. You've got three major tribes, for lack of a better descriptor. The British are there. I think the Ottomans are there, but they're non-player. They're road bumps. They're powerful road bumps in some way, but you've just got to work around them and try and become basically the king of the Arabian Peninsula. It's an area map, and it's a CDG. Fantastic game. If you get a chance to play it, check it out. I can't wait to see what these guys do next. Same guys. If you, I think it's the same guys. Same guys that did Judean Hammer, I think, which is a game that I'd always heard good things about, but I never got a copy of. Um, okay, so this is a fairly low complexity game, and it's funny. I have two copies of Mark's Pacific War. I've only like scratched the surface of it yet. I haven't really played it yet. But when it came time to choose like a carrier battle game, this one came higher on my list. And I think it's just because, well, A, because I'd already cracked it and played it, and I think it was because getting older, and I hate to say it, but I think it may actually be that uh, I'm finding games that are a heavier lift, a little more daunting than I used to. It's not that it's not that I don't still play some heavy games. We'll still we'll still see some of them on this list, but I don't know. The other thing was I played Mike Smart as Zilla Blitz. If anybody knows him, and we had a great time. We played that in San Diego last year. Oh, Dave, you must be talking. You must be talking about Arabian Struggle. Yeah, that is. I'm glad to hear. Fantastic. That game is divided up. I didn't say it's divided up into three eras. So you got three different sets of cards. Anyway, Task Force had a great time playing the Midway scenario with Zilla, and I really loved that game. So it's the same thing here. Well, like the next one I'm going to play. I'm a fan of World War I air games. This isn't the best model. I don't, there's other games that maybe Knights of the Sky is a better model. Yeah. I also really loved Dawn Patrol from TSR, that odd time when TSR was doing this stuff. But Eagles in the Sky, it doesn't let you don't get to do that, like driving around, zinging around the counters and trying to, it's a whole different sort of thing. What makes this game sing, I think, is it's got a lovely campaign game. And so you can put all your dogfights into a larger perspective, and that I think that's what kind of makes it. I mean, like I have I don't know 9 or 12 World War One air games because I'm just a sucker for these old planes. But this is the top one on my list. And then well, I'll come to my final game, which is Empire of the Sun. Which is that could have come anywhere on this list, but it was like one of those games that was just not going to be left off. It's it's another game where I've just scratched the surface. I've only played it a couple of times, but this is the type of game that promises the deeper and deeper that you can go deep. Like some games you can only go some deep, and then you go like, I think I've seen all the possible strategies here. Like there's some smaller games that that I sell because I go, well, there's only two, and I've tried them both. With this game, I think the way the deck works, the two decks work, there's so many different combinations of cards you're going to get that you got to play your cards. You can't play the cards you wish you had. You have to play the cards you have. That's going to determine what your strategy is going to be. You're not going to be able to say, well, I'm going to do this, because you're only going to be able to do that if you get the cards that you want. So this game is on the list. There's been a couple others that are a bit like this, where it's like, I've only scratched the surface of a game that is going to be super deep. And I don't mean in terms of complexity. I mean deep in terms of strategy, which is, I think everyone's favorite game or favorite type of game. If you get the medium complexity and super deep strategy, I can play those games all day long. Anyway, that's the end of my list. If anybody wants to pipe up with a game that's in their collection that they go like, I just if I lost this game, I would be heartbroken and I'd lead. I'd get a kid to have it. I would be so happy to do that. That would be fantastic. I'm on the wrong side of the border, and the border situation is a little tricky this year, so I've canceled my trips to San Diego and Hanford this year, which is really has made me super sad as I see those events going, and I'm going to miss them. But this situation at the border can't last forever, and I'll be back and I'll take you up on that because even though I'll get my ass handed to me on a plate, that's the best learn, right? Absolutely. We could balance that with maybe play whatever Rebel Fury you've got going at the time, because I might have a better chance at Rebel Fury than I'd have at Empire of the Sun. That was fun for me to do. I hope it was interesting for other people to listen to and think about it. The big thing to me was to look at the difference between what were the expensive games and what were the games that actually were really close to me. I played the South Pacific scenario when it came out. I already had Empire of the Sun, the full thing, but I played the one that came out in the C3I magazine. It was fantastic. It was, and also I played it. My first experience with it, I played it using the Vassal module, and that Vassal module for Empire of the Sun is it's amazing. It's got one thing that makes the game so much easier to envision, in that there's these radiuses that you can put on units. If a unit has an interception radius, say of like 4 hexes every direction, you can pop these radiuses up, and you can see where you have to go to stay outside of the radius of something else, or stay within, or where you can see where your own radiuses are protecting the things that you want to protect. Whereas on the board game, you have to imagine that yourself, just looking at the unit. So 2 thumbs up for one of the best Vassal modules out there. Yeah, I can't wait to get my hands on the next copy of Rebel Fury, Mark. That game, like that game, like so many other games, could have been on this list as well. And if I made the list tomorrow, maybe it would be. I've had a blast playing that game and introducing that game to other people. Rebel Fury is fun to introduce to other people because it takes them a minute to understand the idea that you can move for as long as you want, theoretically, but there's the rule is that you could move as long as you don't run into somebody else. You can just keep moving the same unit over and over and over. It takes a while for that to grok that that's a rule that could actually work. And then once they see how it works, of course they're like, oh yeah, this totally works. Anyway, yeah. I've liked that system ever since it first came out as Gettysburg in C3I as well. But where it is now, it's fantastic. All right, well, it's lights out for me as well. Good. Thanks for stopping by, Mark, and thanks for everybody else who let me talk about this. I don't know. I hope I stirred some thought on what everybody else's, what everybody else's most precious games are, for lack of a better word. I guess precious. I don't know. Whatever you want to call it. It was interesting for me to go and make that list and find out which games were meaningful to me. Yeah, thanks, John. Thanks for stopping by. Always good to see you. And I know, John, when I had the flood, you were worried about the Gibson on the wall there, but it was no water came in this room. Right on the other side of this wall the water poured in. But this room this room didn't get hit, so the Gibson was fine. Thanks, Joe. Good to see you. I'm always so glad to have you come by and give your perspective on some of the games we talk about. So often these shows turn into a list of games for one reason or another, but that's why we're here. We're here to talk about games. So, oh yeah, it's interesting you say that, E4, because I don't think I had any Revolutionary War games on the list, and yet there are a couple that I really like. I love Washington's War. Mark's gone now, but that game, if we would have went just a little farther in my list, we would have hit Washington's War. And then another one, Tricorn. It's one of the Commands and Colors games. So it's quite like Commands and Colors Napoleonics, but Commands and Colors Tricorn has this great thing where if a unit is forced to retreat, it has to make a roll, like what I think they call it a rally roll or a morale check roll or something like that. And if it fails, it's gone. So in that Tricorn iteration of all, I gotta love all the Commands and Colors games, but Tricorn is my favorite, and I think it's because of that. It's because of that that way of keeping your lines intact. Because the way to not be made to retreat is to have your lines together where they're supporting each other. Thanks very much, Christoph. We must be on the same wavelength. Well, we can only approach the hobby the way we do. I had some comment on a video yesterday where I'd said I didn't like a certain rule book because I didn't like the order they put the rules in. Because I like to just throw the game on the table, start playing, and find the rules. My favorite rule books are kind of laid out. The rule book kind of happens the way the game happens. And the rule book I was talking about wasn't like that at all. The sequence of play didn't happen until about halfway through the damn rule. And this guy, he didn't like the fact that he didn't like my approach to the hobby. He said nobody plays a game without reading the whole rule book first. So I don't know. Maybe I'm lonesome. I'm lonesome that way. So, where were you fishing, E4? As a Canadian, always happy to somebody coming in and enjoying my beautiful country. And yes, yeah, that is by Compass. The Tricorn is by Compass. That's what we're talking about there. Yeah, I haven't got out fishing at all this summer, which is now is that Quebec or Ontario? I don't know that spot. I'm way out west. I'm in Alberta, and for my holiday, I went even farther west. I went out to the Gulf Islands off the BC coast. The Gulf Islands are the northern islands of what in the States you guys call the San Juan Islands. Oh, there you go. So Northern Ontario, yeah, tons of great fishing in Northern Ontario, and in Northern Ontario, lots of fish and few people, which is a great combination if you're into the outdoors. Anyway, wow. Thanks again to everyone. I've enjoyed tonight immensely, and I guess I'll see you back here in a couple of weeks. And I have no idea what I'm going to talk about then. Well, we'll see. Oh, Oregon's one of my favorite states. Portland's one of my favorite cities, and there's a great museum just west of Portland that has the spruce goose in it. If you've ever been to that museum, fantastic. It's a air museum. It's also got some NASA space stuff, which is interesting. Didn't interest just the planes, but it was really cool to see the spruce goose live in the flesh. This giant, giant wooden plane. Anyway, McMinnville. There you go. Yeah, it's fantastic. Loved it. All right. Well, I could keep talking forever, but I will let you go. Have a great night, and I'll see you all in a couple of weeks, or see you at the Discord. Drop by the Discord, say hello, or drop by the web.